What about fucking Colin? Why does he not have a fucking job? Because he's still being whiteballed. Why is Tom not speaking out about that? He should be his biggest fucking ally. And he hasn't said one fucking thing. We hope you enjoy today's show, everyone. All right, let's rock and roll.
Welcome in, everyone. This is Hoot, host and producer of the Sports Deli Podcast. This is a special edition, and today we're going to be talking about Caitlin Clark and why I think she wasn't necessarily snubbed, but why I think she should be on the 2024 USA Women's Basketball Olympic team. And it may not be for the reasons that you think. Now, the first thing that I thought about, besides being furious when I heard the decision, and I'm not alone, Lisa Leslie, who has been very outspoken about the fact that she thinks that Caitlin should be on the team, and it wasn't just yesterday, it was in recent months she has gone on record as saying that she thinks that Caitlin Clark should absolutely be on this team, that Team USA shouldn't leave this country without Caitlin Clark on that plane. And I wholeheartedly agree. The first thing that I thought about yesterday, oddly enough, was how would the women of the past feel if Caitlin Clark took someone's spot on the team? And I'll tell you who I think she should replace in a second. And it's probably not who you think it is. I'm not going to speak for anybody who played in the original W, the Elizabeth Galloway McQuitters, the Ann Myers, the Machine Gun Mollies. I'm just saying, if I was someone from the past and I'm looking at how much women had to fight from Title IX to women's professional sports to women's college sports to where we are unexpectedly right now in the last 18 months, I don't give a you know what about what you have to do as long as there's no cheating involved. If there's an exception to the rule to be had to continue to promote the sport and take advantage of this moment, this is when you take advantage of the exception to the rule. This is when you put Caitlin Clark on this team. I don't want to hear about the physicality. I don't want to hear about her numbers. I don't want to hear that she's not one of the 12 best women's players in the world. I don't want to hear about any of it. I'm not interested. I'm really not. Because this is what is the best thing for the sport. This is what is the best thing for the economics. This is what is the best thing for little boys and girls all around the world. This is what is the best for the WNBA. This is what is the best for women's basketball as a whole. This is what's best for the Olympics. She may bring more eyeballs to the Olympics than Simone Biles. That's real. The Olympics is something that has changed over the years. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about that, but the Olympics would welcome with open arms Caitlin Clark bringing eyeballs in a way that they may have never seen before, just like we've never seen the numbers television wise, social media wise, that we've ever seen with Caitlin Clark in the tens of millions, in the 20s of millions. And the same thing is going to happen in the Olympics if she goes. So, taking all that into consideration, that's a lot of good things. So, if someone's feelings are hurt because they're left off the team, there's been women that have been snubbed in years past. Candace Parker was snubbed in 2016. Arike was arguably snubbed on this team. But do I think, my personal opinion, that the original W players, or the players in the ABL like Val Whiting, or the current players, fast forwarding 10 or 20 years, would be upset if the state of the game continues to ascend and it's because of this season, because of last season and this season, because of what Caitlin Clark is doing, because of who she is, because of her being her authentic self, because of her relatability of the way she plays the game, because of what she has done for the economy, because of what she has done for bringing awareness to the sport, which in turn helps the past players, which helps the current players. She is bringing an awareness which, as a byproduct, teaches people about the Lisa Leslies and about all of those past players, the Rebecca Lobos, the Crystal Robinsons, the Tina Thompsons, the Cheryl Millers. It sheds a light on all those women who fought so hard to get to where we are now. That's why she needs to be on the team, replacing Brittany Griner. No disrespect to Brittany Griner. There's no way in hell that Brittany Griner should be on this team instead of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the reason, as Dawn Staley has stated several times, and Dawn Staley is on the USA Women's Basketball Olympic Committee, from what I understand. But Caitlin Clark is the reason why there are charter flights. The main reason. Caitlin Clark is the reason why there are new shoe deals, not just for her, but for other women. Caitlin Clark is the reason why there are more eyeballs on this sport than ever before. You don't want to go backwards. You don't want to lose momentum. Momentum is very fragile. Yes, Reesenomics is real. Yes, Brinkonomics is real. And yes, Gino Ariema is probably right when he said that this might not have even been one of the best rookie classes in the last 10 years. But that doesn't matter. What matters is there are eyeballs on this sport like never before. And you can't blow that opportunity. This is what is known as the exception to the rule. Caitlin Clark is the reason why there are not only sold out arenas. Those games, many of them were originally in stadiums or field houses that only seated 4,000 people. They're now in the same arenas that the men play in that seat 18 to 20,000 fans. Why games have been moved from no-name networks to major networks. I don't want to hear about how Caitlin Clark can't handle the international physicality or how she was playing in the Final Four as to the reason why she wasn't considered for this team. All nonsense. Will we look back in 10 or 20 years and be upset if Caitlin Clark is on this team? And the answer is a resounding, absolutely hell no. There's no way. And to me, it is absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous that she's not on this team. Did people watch golf because of Phil Mickelson? Yeah. A lot of Phil Mickelson fans out there. A lot of them. Not as many as Tiger Woods. Are people watching women's gymnastics because of the other incredible women on the USA gymnastics team? Other incredible women of color, I might add? Yep, they are. Not as many people are watching when Simone Biles is competing. No disrespect to any of the artists out there in the world, whether it's Beyonce or anyone else. But are people following them the same way that they're following Taylor Swift? No. And you don't blow the opportunity when this is happening. This is literally a women's basketball, a women's sports reckoning. Caitlin Clark being on that team is not disrespecting anyone from the past. It's not disrespecting any of the current players. It's not compromising the integrity of the league. It's not compromising the integrity of the Olympics. This is seizing the moment. And I hope that she ends up on the team somehow. But currently, they are blowing it. Yesterday, I was furious. I don't even know if I know why, other than the obvious reasons. Like it's just an absolutely idiotic economic decision. There's only one Beatles. There's only one Rolling Stones. Sometimes, as much as we don't necessarily like it, and we have our biases and we have our reasons as to why we don't like it or why things aren't fair, sometimes you only get one shot at something. Some things are just magic. I don't even know if we can necessarily explain it. There's other players that shoot logo threes. There's other players that shoot deep threes. What is it about her? Partly social media. I'm sure there's partly other reasons as well as to why people embrace her, fair or unfair. But she's the face of women's basketball, like it or not. Now, there's another reason as to why I feel like she needs to be on this team. And my original thought was, why in the hell would Diana Taurasi go to her 7th Olympics? Like, what good is that going to do? Like, pass the torch, man. Like, enough is enough. Like, no disrespect to the GOAT, which arguably she's the GOAT, but you're not the face of the league. And then I thought about it. I slept on it. I didn't really speak on this until today because this morning I woke up not mad, but sad. I was profoundly sad. I felt like I was going through the 7 stages of grief, quite honestly. But I shaved, I meditated, I tried to gather my thoughts, and then a light went on. And I was like, you know what? Diana Taurasi should absolutely be on this team. And again, it's no disrespect to Brittany Griner, but she should absolutely not be on this team. If Caitlin Clark is going to take anyone's spot, it's hers. And I'm going to tell you why. If Caitlin Clark is the face of the league, then that means that Caitlin Clark is also bringing an awareness to the past. And she's also the future. That is a heavy responsibility. those those are huge shoulders. Is she Paige Beckers? Is she going to stand up at the ESPYs and overtly come out and talk about how we need to amplify black and brown women in the way that Paige did and only Paige could do. That's not Caitlyn right now. Is she talking about, she being Caitlyn, the incredible women of this league, and giving credit where credit is due? She is, but it's different. Is she Angel Reese? No, and I love Angel Reese. She is white. She's from the Midwest. She shoots deep ass threes. She's continuing to evolve as a player, as an ambassador. The unprecedented eyeballs and economics that is coming with the territory of being Caitlin Clark, I think she's handling it exceptionally well. And I hope that she does more in the spaces to demystify, to educate, to amplify her platform in ways that we're seeing with Angel Reese and Paige Beckers. And the reason that I think that Diana Taurasi needs to be on this team is because, going back to my point about Caitlin being the face of the league right now, this is the last Olympics probably for Diana Taurasi. Caitlin Clark has no mentors, none. Kobe had MJ. And we could go on about how players have talked about who their mentors were and how that helped them so much. Who's Caitlin's mentor? She's doing this all on her own at 22 years old. She doesn't have anybody on the Indiana Fever. Who's mentoring her? Kate Martin has mentors. Other players on the men's and women's side have had mentors. So, for that reason, if you're the face of the league and we're trying to help the sport and build and seize the moment, that is why Caitlin Clark absolutely needs to be on this team, to be mentored, to learn things that she couldn't even herself possibly imagine when she looks back on her career, that she will talk about if she's on this Olympic team. She will talk about her time with Diana Taurasi, her time with Asia Wilson, and her time on this 2024 Olympic team that will not only benefit her, but that will benefit the sport, because that's what you're doing when you're passing the torch. And that's what all of this is about, in part, is passing the torch. Finally, they have somebody that everyone wants to watch. Finally, there's eyeballs on the sport, on the amazing sport of women's basketball, at the collegiate level and at the professional level. It's always been amazing, despite the misogyny and the sexism and the racism and all of the false narratives that nobody watches women's sports, not anymore. And you don't want to blow this opportunity. And one of the ways you amplify the sport is to put her in front of an international audience and continue to build off what is happening. And you mentor her. Is she going to be a Hall of Famer without Diana Taurasi and Asia Wilson and all the other amazing women on the Olympic team? Absolutely. But Caitlin Clark needs this. On some level, I'm sure it's been overwhelming. I'm sure she's had some private moments where maybe she's even cried because it's just so much. Yes, I know she's publicly said she knew what she was getting herself into, and she's handled herself beautifully, and she's taken all these shots, and the league continues to thrive, even if it's a little bit over the top sometimes. But I think what this would do for her mental health, for the sport, to honor those past players, because Diana Taurasi represents all of those past players, and she would be paying it forward in a way that we can't even put a price tag on. It would be invaluable to everybody involved, to Caitlin, to those past players, to the current players, and to the future of women's basketball. Same thing with Asia Wilson. To be around greatness, and it's not to say that her team doesn't have great players. Everyone in the WNBA is great. There's 144, or give or take, women in the WNBA, the majority of who are black and brown, women of color, the best players in the world. I would argue that there's some players that should be in the WNBA that aren't, that are the best. One of the best in the world, Crystal Bradford. Sidebar, sorry, I couldn't help it. There's no way that she shouldn't be in the WNBA, but I digress. But aside from all the other reasons that I mentioned, people brought up Christian Laettner in the last couple of days. There's no way that Christian Laettner should have been on that Olympic team, and we would all go back in time and probably agree. It was a publicity stunt. Would this be a publicity stunt? I guess in part. Isaiah Thomas should have been on that team. Caitlin Clark absolutely should be on this team. I'm by no means trying to compare the Supreme Court and Roe versus Wade to Caitlin Clark and the WNBA, but sometimes you just got to step aside for the greater good. And I think someone needs to step aside for the greater good. Is this necessarily about our country? I guess a little, but it is bigger than ball. As much as this is about Caitlin Clark and what she's bringing to the sport, it's still bigger than her. So, whatever opinion you had before going to this podcast, let me know what you think. I appreciate you tuning in. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. In situations like this, whether it's Colin Kaepernick or in this case, Diana Taurasi, two very different situations, I would absolutely not only speak up, but I would sacrifice my spot if that was possible for a Colin Kaepernick, or in this case, for a Caitlin Clark, because she absolutely deserves to be on this team for the reasons that I mentioned, but in particular because of the mentoring that would take place with the players on the Olympic team, the best players in the world, so that she can continue to be the face of the league in a way that she can't if she's not mentored and she's not around these incredible women. And the lessons that she would learn would be invaluable, and how she would be able to impart that to future generations, her future teammates, to everything that she does and future Olympics that she will be on. You can't put a price tag on it. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Hootie Hoot. This has been a special edition of the Sports Daily Podcast. And hopefully we will see you in Paris with Caitlin Clark on that team somehow, some way. And I don't want to hear about how if she's not on the team, she's got a month to relax. Do you think she wants a month off? She doesn't. Trust me, much as it sounds good to take a month off, nope, she doesn't want it. I'm telling you that right now. If she's not on the team and she doesn't go, she may put on a good face, but I can tell you right now, that's not a thing. Now go do the right thing. Much love. Peace. Hey everyone, feel free to send me an email to thesportsdeli@gmail.com. Also check out my link tree. It's /Mike Hootner. Also like to thank a few people. 40 Tons brand is a socially conscious cannabis brand, and they're doing amazing things. Check them out. We'd also like to thank Moolah Kicks, the first ever female brand basketball shoe in the history of the world. We'd also like to encourage you, if you're having a hard day and if you're feeling like you just don't want to live anymore, all you have to do is dial 988 from any phone, and there will be someone there 24/7, 365. So don't feel like you have to fight this battle alone. Don't forget to do your self-breast and self-testicular exams every month. It's really important, as early detection is the key. Remember, Black Lives Matter. Reach out to your local and state politicians for any individual or group that you feel are being marginalized. Stop the bullying. Stop the Asian hate. Let's end gun violence with common sense laws. Let's be allies for the LGBTQIA+ community. And I challenge those of you in the white space to be anti-racist, to be bridges and vessels, to help bridge the gaps between black and white America. And remember, until next time, it takes a village, everyone. Much love.